Hey everyone, this is Patrick. Welcome to another edition of Heavy Therapy. In this video, I want to go over 5 different 1990s death metal demos or EPs that I've recently picked up over the last year or so on vinyl. About 3 weeks ago, I was a guest on Heavy Metallurgy and we did a March Madness style single round elimination tournament of 64 different old school death metal full length albums from the early 1990s to the mid 1990s. And I am still in that mood, so I'm still in the early 1990s mood, and but I want to show you demos and EPs in this video. So I'll have a link in the description section if you want to go check out my guest appearance there on Heavy Metallurgy. It's co-hosted by Marty and Alan. Alan has his own channel called Let's Talk Metal. So I'm going to try to do this in chronological order and beginning with the oldest album here, the oldest release here I should say. This is Agoraphobia with Morbidius Pathology. This is a 1990 demo. Agoraphobia were from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and yeah, this was just recently put out on picture disc by Hell's Headbangers. There's 500 copies. Side A, you get the Morbidius Pathology demo, 3 songs, and side B, you get a live performance in late December 1991 that features the 3 songs from the demo, but also a couple of tracks that maybe you only get here. So yeah, Agoraphobia was a 3-piece. Chris Gamble does the vocals and bass guitar here. Alex is on lead guitar, and Craig was on drums. And what's cool about this is Alex is now, he's wearing an Immolation shirt, I believe, there. And Alex is now in the band Immolation. And Craig also played drums on at least that first Immolation record, but maybe even the first couple of Immolation records. Chris Gamble has a couple other projects, but let's take a look at this. So cool that it has the original artwork on it, on picture disc here. And then the back has some part of the other. Look at that. Pretty killer stuff here. It sounds fine. It's pretty raw, but I just don't think I don't think that it sounds like that because it's on picture disc. I think it sounds like that because it was recorded in 1990 in Snug Fit Studios in Richboro, Pennsylvania, and then the live set in Buffalo is pretty raw. But it has the lyrics to the songs that are only on the live set too, so pretty cool. Great attention to detail. If Hell's Headbangers does anything well, it is that they really care about early releases, they care about reissues, and they care about giving you high quality when they do so. Agoraphobia musically sound like the vocal approach actually sounds like a bit like Ross from Immolation, but also David from Undergang. And this is old school death metal with a little bit of black metal groove to it as well, especially in that final track, Organ Donor. A couple of parts will remind you of Chuck's guitar playing, so will remind you of Death, early Death that is. You hear Incantation, you hear Morbid Angel, you hear Immolation. The live set, Chris calls out, gives shouts out to Apparition, Deceased, Immolation, and Nocturnal. Pretty cool in between songs. Stage banter. Yeah, that's just a pretty cool reissue. You get 8 tracks overall, 28 minutes of music, and the demo itself is 3 tracks, 9 minutes long. Up next is a band that one and done. This is their only release. It's a 1991 demo. They're from the south of Chicago, about an hour south of Chicago in Illinois. This is Maimed with their 91 demo called 91 Demo. 5 tracks, 16 minutes of music. Originally out on tape. Dark Descent put it out on vinyl and CD, I believe, in 2020. This is some Death Doom. Killer vocals, heavy Death Doom, inspired by Autopsy. This recording sounds killer. Track 2, Burned, kind of has that Once Upon the Crosshair deicide riff style. I hear some Ratravor. I hear Swedish too. I hear early Nihilist Entombed style as well, death metal. But throughout these 5 tracks, you hear a lot of different styles. There's some grind in there. There's some blast beats. You have some Autopsy parts, some deicide parts. But you hear a lot of different styles of death metal on this 5-track demo. Pretty impressive stuff here, really heavy. Stands up now. I think this recording sounds fantastic. So you have Maimed from Midlothian, Illinois, again an hour south of Chicago. 91 demo here, out on Dark Descent. Up next is, this actually contains their full-length album, but also a couple of demos. So this is Deteriorate. This is actually their Riding in Hell full-length as far as the cover goes. But yeah, side C and D, as you see here, contained the Agonized Display demo and then the self-titled demo. So 92, 93 here, and then they put all the songs together on their first full-length as well. So pretty cool package. It's fun. That I believe that was the original. I'm actually not sure now that I think about it. But lyrics, yeah, 2 LP set put out on Dark Descent again in 2018 maybe. But just killer sounding stuff. Again, I like hearing these tracks from different progressions, from the first demo, from the second demo, and then finally polished on their full length in 1993. Another band from Pennsylvania. They're from Pendle, Pennsylvania. They had another LP in 96, but broke up shortly after in 1997. Mixture of Deicide, Death, Autopsy, and Asphyx, I would say. And yeah, just pretty cool. I picked this up in at Alter Vinyl in Philadelphia about a year ago. Rest in peace, Alter, or Vinyl Alter, I should say. Next up is a band that I don't hear too many people talk about, but I do know they are known. This is Lobotomize with Preach Eternal Gospels EP, 1993 release, originally out on Malodorous Mingled Innards Records, but put out on Hammerheart Records in 2015. Band from the Netherlands, like I said, originally from 1990, or I'm sorry, they started in 1990. This is their 1993 demo. You get about 5 tracks, 26 minutes of music, so lots of content here. Modern bands, think Void Ceremony and Lunar Chamber. So there's some doomy parts on here as well, but progressive, synth-based death metal. Again, pretty heavy, pretty low guttural vocal approach. Every now and then you'll hear some melodies or some notes that sound like they're either Middle Eastern or they're sort of Southeast Asian. You never know. Especially me, I don't really know, but that's kind of what the chords sound like to my ears. But really cool progressive stuff for the era. It sounds straight out of the first wave of death metal. Nocturnus bringing the Nocturnus influence in the keys and the synth, but pretty cool stuff here. Let me show you. It's a one-sided EP, so on side B they give you this cool little screen print on the vinyl, and I actually bought this from Aaron over at Metal Theologian, and yeah, band's still together. I believe Tom Palms is actually still in the band, but almost everybody else, if not everyone else, is new. I haven't heard their new stuff, so if you have, tell me in the comment section if it's good. But yeah, killer stuff here. Just something to add to your collection if you like. Yeah, a bit progressive, horror influenced 90s death metal. Okay, finally is a really cool collection that came out, I want to say a year ago or so, and that's around when I picked it up. Was reissued in 2023 by Nuclear War. Now, this is Imprecation, and this is their Thurgia Goetia Summa compilation. So the compilation itself came out in 1995. This contains their 1992, 1993, 1994 demos and EPs. Bands from Houston, Texas. They are still going strong. Yeah, so just a really, really well put together package by Nuclear War. Now, let me show you some of the contents here. Comes with awesome booklet, and that's the cover of their, actually not sure, I guess. I was going to say the cover of their Ceremony of the Nine Angels, but not exactly. But this just has profile of the band, written by David himself. Cool. Yeah, really worth picking up, guys. Yeah, look at this stuff. Very cool artwork from the time that they were putting this stuff out. Lyrics, of course, as well. Here's a flyer from 1992. So yeah, Imprecation just play that Texas style, heavy, mid-pace, headbanging, death metal. It also comes with a poster of their 1992 demo, Ceremony of the Nine Angles. 4 tracks, 15 minutes of music on this one. Yeah, just a band that is getting a lot of more recognition now than they did when they were first out. They also took a break, but now they're putting out albums that are pretty solid. All black. There is a non-black variant that sold out pretty quickly. Yeah, but check out these bands from the early 1990s if you haven't heard them. All of these releases are, you can tell that they're labors of love, and that's what we are here for, right? Because we love this subgenre, we love underground metal. And yeah, I'm thrilled to have these albums in my collection. What other early 1990s demos or EPs do you think that I might not be aware of, that you think I should check out, that have been recently reissued or whatever? Talk to you all in the comments. Remember to stay heavy. Bye.